Well, for me, you know, it's funny when you're retired and things slow down, and you could, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's definitely overwhelming in a great sense, and I'm so thrilled that, you know, to have very special family and friends here, and so appreciative to, you know, to Fred and Jeff and the Mets for bringing me back, and it's an honor. I mean, I've been touched. I've met, got reacquainted with a lot of people, and I've seen a few faces in a few years, and you know, so it's great. I mean, I'm very honored.
Mike, when you think of your time here in New York, what stands out? What comes to mind when you reflect on the seasons with the Mets?
I can honestly say, I mean, you know, I know there's been players in the past that have had really great connections with their respective fans, but I can't, and I'm overwhelmed. I can't express the love and support and from these fans. I mean, it's just been something that you know, as a player, when you're doing your job, and you know, there's the pressures of executing and doing what you have to do, and sometimes you don't stop to really to appreciate, you know, how much the fans mean. I mean, they're everything in this game. They're the only reason why we're here, really. You guys, me, the team. So the fact that they've, from the start, taken me under their wing, and we had this relationship, it truly is special, and it's just something that I can't put into words. I mean, everywhere I go, and you know, when I come back to the city, or just places all over this country and around the world for that matter, I mean, it's just, to me, that's something, I'm just, I guess the word is just grateful. You know, I can't really express how grateful I am, but it truly is a special connection.
Mike, you talked about in your book when you were a young kid in that batting cage, the homemade batting cage, and the kids riding their bikes past. Did you ever envision, you know, when you were in that cage, what your career would turn out, and this day particularly? No,
I mean, I could probably attribute it to, you know, a few factors. And number one is just my faith in God, my faith that that I was able to channel to help me persevere through the tough times. Family, love from family, support from family, my brothers, my dad. I mean, everybody was just on board, and then teammates and coaches and friends. I mean, as you mentioned in the book, I mean, there was many people that, you know, Tommy was sort of gave a great piece of advice. He says, you listen to everybody, and if you could pick one piece out of someone's instruction or someone's advice that can help you, you do it. If you can't, you know, you just obviously let it go. But for me, I was blessed to have the ability to at least listen and comprehend what they were saying and see if it suited my game. So I tell kids today, I mean, listen to everybody. I mean, maybe there's something that can help you and to improve, no matter what you do, no matter what sport you play. So when I look back on my life and my career, you know, the faith that I have and the people that have touched my life, even today, I mean, I heard this expression, you can't really, you know, make friends after a certain age, but I mean, the last 5 years of my life, I've met some amazing people, and you know, I've got a couple of great golf buddies now, and it's like being in the clubhouse. I mean, it's like I go from one clubhouse to the country club clubhouse and kind of, you know, josh and have fun and get a little competitiveness out. So it's, you know, again, just an amazing journey, really.
Mike, when you think back to your moments on the field here in New York, is there one that sticks out that you considered your Mets moment throughout your career?
A couple of things. I think for me it was probably my last day here at the end of the season in 2005. You know, the love that was shown from the fans, and then to transition that into playing with San Diego the next year and coming back here and to, you know, after hitting a home run, 2 home runs and getting cheered. You know, I mean, I was a little bit. I don't know if I would have hit the third one if it would have been cheers, but I would say that that truly blew me away, and I can't express it. It's just, and I think, you know, my relationship here with the fans, like any relationship. I mean, when I got here, they didn't know me too well. They didn't know anything about me. They didn't know if I was going to stay. They didn't know if I was completely committed to staying here. And then once I, and had some rough patches, you know, obviously struggled a little bit at the plate, driving in runs, and they let me hear about it, and I was like thinking to myself, I can do one of two things. I can run and go to somewhere a little more safer and comfortable, or I can meet this head on and try to prove to these people that I want to belong and want to play for them and perform for them. And fortunately, I had that inner ability to focus and realize that this is what I had to do. And when they recognized that, they just, I mean, it's like they a little hesitant first, but then once they took me in under their wing, it's just been an incredible relationship of love and support.
Mike, whenever people talk about your iconic moments, that home run after 9/11 always comes up. When you look back on it now, from these years later, what goes through your head and through your heart?
You know, when I think about that day, I really think for me it was just that we were all together. I mean, the home run, no question, was the way people put that in a place is so in honor for me. But you know, that week and what we went through that week, the fact that we were just together and we were able to hug and see family and at least try to not move on, but at least just be with people that you care about, and that's one thing that a baseball game is. I mean, it's just driving in today. You know, it was kind of interesting just seeing the people out in the parking lot and tailgating and barbecuing, and that's what I think about. I mean, yeah, the home run was awesome, and I was so blessed and fortunate that I was able to execute at that moment. And looking back, the only reason why I think I got through that moment was just a lot of prayer and a lot of just asking for the strength to get through and do my job. And fortunately, I was totally blessed to have done that. But to me, when I think about that day, it's just that we were all together and with people we cared about, and we're able to try to just try to have a moment in an otherwise week of just, you know, despair and fear.
Hey, Mike, what do you think, you look back on the chaos of that week where you traded twice, and we kind of talked about a couple questions ago, coming into the Mets, a particular game or moment in the summer of '98 where you said, you know, I'm going to stick here and it's going to work out, you know, any particular memory of that commitment?
Yeah, I mean, as a ball player, I mean, especially as a player who had blessed to come up with a great organization like LA. I mean, when I was there, I never thought I would ever leave there, like most guys. Unfortunately, at the time, it was a little chaotic, and it was one of those things that once I knew we had set that in motion where we weren't going to work out an extension, I knew that it was probably going to be the case. But as they say, sometimes, you know, you can't describe something to somebody, they have to go through it. So nothing really was going to prepare me of that year, and it was just a perfect storm. I mean, obviously, not to get into a deep history lesson, but you know, the Marlins were, you know, unloading a lot of players and payroll and stuff. So it was just, I mean, I look back now in retrospect and realize that it was just fate. You know, I was just meant to be here, and that's that feeling I was talking about when, you know, you could talk about agents and numbers and arguments and who's right and who's wrong, but if you look at the big picture of life, you realize something that sometimes there's just a destiny in things, and I truly feel that it was my plan to be here in one way, shape, or form. It may not have been the most, you know, beautiful journey at the time, but it was meant to be, and to follow through on that, just having the experiences here and playing with the teammates that I played with here and having the bonds and you know, the teams I mean, played with some great teams in '99, 2000, and 2001, and great guys, great friendships. So it was, yeah, I mean, it was, at the time, you know, it wasn't very smooth, but looking back, I just felt it was meant to be.
Mike, you may not have the answer to this, but how did the Mets attract and acquire another Mike Piazza type player?
Well, I got a boy, he's 2 months old. You know, I'm going to train him, but the rest is up to him. So I told Jeff I'll give him the first crack at him in a few years when he's ready. But he's not going to be cheap.
Hey, Mike, you
you had a lot of special moments back there, Mike. You had a lot of special moments here, but the last one we ever had at Chase Stadium was catching the ball from Tom Seaver and kind of, Met fans kind of connecting father's hero Seaver, son's hero Piazza. What did that day and that moment mean to you?
I remember that day, and not to get on the bad part of that day, the frustrating part, it was, you know, it was something, if I was able to cut that out, fortunately, coming into the ballpark and seeing the fans there and feeling the energy and the love, and yeah, I mean, again, looking back as a kid and in my life and my career, if you can imagine someone who at the time, you know, I never thought I was going to get out of, you know, junior college, to be on the same field with Tom Seaver and catch the last pitch at Shea from him is something, I mean, I can only say it's a miracle, really. I mean, I can only say it is a small miracle, and so I truly feel that. I mean, I feel it's, you know, Tom is iconic, a legend. I mean, and to be on the same field with him and to close out Shea Stadium is something, I mean, really, what an honor.
Hey, Mike, you just referenced 99-01. Talk about your favorite October memories here.
Well, I mean, I think back, and it was so ironic because I saw Lenny Harris the other day in Miami, and just the characters we had. I mean, we had Pat Mahomes and Lenny Harris and Dennis Cook and Al and Johnny, and as much as Robin and Todd and all those guys, I mean, in the pitching we had Turk and Benny Agbayani. I mean, we had a real interesting team, you know, and it's funny when people, today, especially a lot of Mets fans, and I pray that the Mets find, you know, these new characters with David's leadership, that they can get to that point, and I believe they will. You know, it's kind of like fans do want to root for their team and want for success, but it's also nice to root for people, you know, and root for guys. And so we had a very interesting group of guys, and yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that you can't. We came together, we were a team, we pulled for each other. You know, we found a way to win, not a way to lose, and it was just as Tommy Lasorda always likes to say, it was a bunch of guys on the same side of the road pulling together, rather than guys pulling against each other.
One more time, Peter.
Mike, I know you addressed PEDs in your book. I'm just wondering, now that you've had some time to reflect on your first year on the ballot, what are your thoughts about the Hall of Fame? And also, do you feel it's fair or unfair that players of your era have kind of all been lumped together, whether they've tested positive or been, you know, linked to steroids or not?
Well, I just feel it's an unfortunate consequence of that era, and not to get into a deep dissertation of fault, and in a perfect world, if we can go back and do things again, I'm sure we would have done a lot of things different. With that said, you know, again, that's just something that, you know, I hate what happened to the game, but the positive is that you see how resilient the game is. I mean, you see that at the end of the day, it comes down to baseball, and it is a game that has shown that through its ups and downs and through its imperfection, is a game that people really love. And you know, again, as I said, I wish we could go back and do it differently, and I'm sure it would have been a different world. But I think I truly feel that baseball doesn't get enough credit for the fact that they are trying to really make a statement to understand that there's no place, you know, for PEDs in baseball and sports generally.
What do you think about the Hall of Fame?
Oh, the Hall of Fame, again, you know, I truly feel I got a lot of support. It's a process. I mean, I'm very proud of my career. You know, obviously I put my body work up against anybody I've said before, and but you know what? I truly feel that the process is a beautiful thing as well. It is what it is. I mean, you know, looking back, you know, you look at Yogi had 3 ballots and Joe DiMaggio had 3 ballots. So part of that journey as well. I mean, when you retire, you get retrospective. You think of things in a bigger picture. And so if I'm so blessed and honored to get to that point one day, you know, I will, you know, enjoy it and be proud and wear the honor that is so important, but up until that point, you know, I can only do like an artist, you know, just here's my work, my canvas, and it's out of my hands. And I truly think the process is cool and amazing and very interesting and historic. So I know throughout history there's always going to be debate, and that's the best thing about baseball. It's the best thing about sports. So you got to look at it that way.
We're going to do 3 more.
Mike, unlike you, a lot of talented players come to New York and have trouble, you know, and don't meet expectations. What advice would you give to any free agents or any other big names coming to New York and succeeding in this town?
I would say you got to jump in with both feet and be completely pot committed. You know, I truly feel that, and that includes the bad parts as well. You know, it's just be accountable. You know, you guys. I think everyone here has a job to do. The players, the managers, the coaches. You know, the media, and you have to respect that and give everyone their time. But you do have to focus on what you're going to do, what your job is. Get yourself ready and prepared, but also enjoy it. And I think for me, you know, again, maybe in retrospect, that I felt so much pressure and I took so much on that even Al was like, man, you gotta enjoy it sometimes. And I was able to do that, obviously more when we're winning than when we're losing, but you know, it's something that you can't describe. I mean, I think every day I think back of something in you know, just total, in a good place with a good heart, because I realize that you run the gauntlet here. This is not easy, and as I said, I've written before that some guys are more comfortable in you know, smaller places, and there's some great sports towns out there. I mean, I love the St. Louis's and the Pittsburghs and all those really other cool towns that I love to visit. But yeah, I mean, to play here and to do well here and have an extended career here is something very special.
2000 team wins or plays in the World Series. Is that the best Mets team you played on necessarily?
Well, that's, you know, an interesting question. I think we had a pretty good team in '99. Obviously, when Johnny left, you know, it was an interesting dilemma. I mean, Todd came in and filled in very well. I think the '99 team, talent-wise, was maybe a little bit more talented, but I think the 2000 team was probably a little bit more of a team, as far as just collectively, we were a little bit more scrappier, probably not as glamorous, but I'd say people, I was talking the other day, I mean, when I was coaching with the Classic and I was watching a shortstop make a mistake, and I just remember being behind that plate with that infield and knowing that
That's why I asked.
there was nobody that was going to drop that ball. I mean, I was walking off the field on, you know, when there's a ground ball to short, and watching the Ray Ordonez and you know, and Fonzie and Robin, and so that was something special. It was nice for me because I knew that nobody was going to boot the ball out there, so it made my life easier. But yeah, it was too different. It actually, and it's kind of weird too. You have in two teams that have kind of a different personality, but yeah, even though they're not 1 year apart, but yeah, both teams I have very fond memories of.
I know you're involved in the World Baseball Classic every 4 years. Is that kind of the limit of what you want to do baseball-wise, or do you want to either be involved in uniform ever or broadcast or anything like that?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I said this to contrast that when I was playing. I said, you know, I wanted to be a bachelor in the big leagues for a few years, and 2 turned into 10 for some reason. And to segue that into what my point is, you know, I've been retired now, and you know, I find myself playing golf and doing things, and it is nice that you can kind of pick your own schedule. I always loved the game. I love the Classic. It was fun. I don't rule anything out. You know, obviously having smaller kids and starting my family later in life, you know, maybe when my girls don't think I'm as cool and I have more time, then I'll be like, okay, now I can do it. But I definitely don't want to close any doors. I love the game. I feel like I'm a good teacher. I know because I learned from the great teachers that taught me, and I think it's a small way to give back. But we'll see. I never say never. And I feel timing is big now. I mean, I never felt that was, I didn't understand that when I was younger. Now that I'm a little more involved, timing is a very interesting thing. So if the timing's right and we hit the seam, I don't rule anything out. I mean, I'm still committed to my work in Europe. You know, my family's in the car business in Philly. I get up to there and help my brothers every now and then as well, and like to play golf. So it's funny, I've never been more busy doing nothing. But it's something I won't rule out, that may be in the future.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, guys.